We can't get enough of that, can we? All right, for anybody new meeting us, this is JB and JC. Let's just, as the slide says, JC and JB. That's our information. We'll post this at the end, of course. In case you are new to us, we do this every month. Stay tuned. Get on our email list. Register for the emails when you see them come through. We do have some changes coming down the road here with the way we run our web events and our email distribution. So if you see an email, please, if it says register, register. We've had some overcrowding on some of our events, and people get disappointed when they can't join at the last minute. So stay tuned for more. We'll keep you updated throughout the month. And again, we'll have this back up at the end of the session. All right, JC, sound check, JC, we all good?
You're loud and clear, buddy.
All right. All right, what are we going over today on today's March Ask Us Anything? Well, here we go. The big news, we're going to be talking about the Second Amendment executive order from President Trump. And I'll give you the heads up, spoiler alert, there's not much movement on it, and we'll explain that in just a second. We'll get to that first. We'll give you an update on statistics for the ATF and inspections. We're going to have 5 smart things today, and 5 instead of 5 stupid things. Let's talk about 5 smart things you guys are doing out there that everyone should be doing. We got very important legal updates for everyone who does business in a few of our states or sells online to customers in a few of our states. Very important. And then true or false. We love true and false. I got some doozies for you today. And then rapid fire, ask us anything where you get your questions answered right here from we consider ourselves some of the experts in the industry. We stay in touch with the ATF, FBI, NICS teams daily and weekly. We are unbiased and bipartisan, I guess is a good way to say it. We play both sides of the road just so we help everyone get everywhere they need to get to and do it right and do it legally and stay in business.
Hey, JB, you might want to get closer to your mic. We're getting some comments that people can't hear you.
All right, I'm going to try that. How's that? Is that any better with you guys? Give me a no.
Oh.
All right. All right, how's this? Is that I'm talking loud? Should I just yell? Does yelling help? Okay. All right, I'm getting some goods and I'm getting some bads. So if you could turn up your volume, that'd be great. We're going to continue going. I'll just talk a little loud today. All right, so let's talk, JC. Let's jump into what's happening over there with Pam Bondi and the executive order. First of all, it was published on February 7th. I mean, we were all very happy to see the executive order from Donald Trump ask for Pam Bondi's office, quote unquote, to do a full assessment of the Second Amendment as it affects citizens and the industry, and to look at absolutely everything that happened under Biden, and along with everything that's constitutional or unconstitutional across the U.S., right? So that was a big job. We can understand that she's a week or two late. 30 days would have been March 7th, and here we are a week later. We hear there is much progress, but then again, there's a whole lot of things happening over there in the White House. So I think we're just going to take a deep breath and give our faithful president another couple of weeks to hopefully come out with some news on any of these programs. So what are some of the programs anyway? Well, first of all, Kash Patel, we think is the right person to be the acting director of the ATF. We do know, and there's lots of news, public and private, that there's a whole lot of investigation going on in just the political arena, everything in Washington, D.C. Kash Patel is definitely, I'll just call him a Republican at heart. And he is intentional in everything he does. And I think we're going to see some great things come from him, but I don't expect it to have anything to do with the ATF. I think you'll agree with me on that, JC, right?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody has to be in charge of the ATF, plain and period. I mean, somebody has to be in charge versus just leaving it up in the air. So having him co-supervise that agency is probably still the best thing we can ask for. In other words, somebody we can trust and somebody who's not going to rock the boat. And he does report to Pam Bondi, who's another obvious Second Amendment supporter through history. And I think we're going to see a lot of good stuff come, but maybe not right around the corner. So her review is delayed. Yes, we do have a pause on the revocation hearings of any new inspections that may result in any of the revocable citations. So just heads up, it is not over. We're going to talk a little bit about the citations later in this presentation. They have not changed, and we'll talk about the inspection process. Kind of getting weird. When I say weird, strange things are happening, although people are not going right to revocation. A note on that, though, litigation, if you were in litigation prior to January 21st, you're still subject to the litigation proceedings. So JC is still running around the country with attorneys,
Yep.
and you may have attorneys helping you through the process, but that process has to continue. The executive order cannot address that part of it. We are still pending whether or not revoked or previously revoked FFLs can reapply, or if previously surrendered FFLs can reapply for a license. That is a big issue still pending, and we are talking about that weekly with the NSSF and others. We're still awaiting the definition of what enforcement, willful negligence, and plain indifference means as it pertains to the Gun Control Act and the ATF inspection process. We have not got any definition or explanation or clarification on any of that. We're still awaiting what happens with all of the rulings that are in place. All we do know is that there is no limited or no enforcement on these rulings as of today. They're still in place. They have not been repealed. They have not been extinguished or revoked. They're still on the books. They're still on paper. But use caution in dealing with any of these issues. Call us if you have any questions.
We're calling it the big pause.
Big pause, yeah.
We haven't gotten any idea yet what's coming down the pipe. We don't know what's changing. We don't know anything. We have a lot of speculation and assumptions. So,
And that's just not us. That is very close friends we have inside the agencies that are, truly telling us they don't know. So
yep.
that's to me, that's good news. There's no secrets. There's no preview. It's just going to happen, and there's going to be a decision. And based on history over the last 30 or 50 days, I think when something is decided, it gets enacted pretty quickly. So
Mm.
we're hopeful about all of the unwinding of the Biden rulings since 2021, and we are very positive about concealed carry reciprocity being brought to the floor of the Congress, along with the Hearing Suppression Act. Those are two bills that have a lot of activity behind them. And we're very hopeful that there's a shift away from regulatory overreach. We've all asked for that in many different ways. All of your organizations you support, keep supporting them, keep contributing to them. They are pushing hard. Without naming them all, they are very active in the push. No one's laying dormant during this time, and no one's just waiting for stuff to happen. There's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. And we're also hopeful that something happens at a very high level, hopefully the Supreme Court within the next year, that limits the state's ability to control or not control your firearms. And again, we'll be getting into that in just a minute with some of our states. So hold your breath. We're moving forward. At this point in time, we usually go through the ATF statistics from prior months. But JC, what'd you hear from ATF on?
Yeah. So actually, I talked to ATF headquarters this morning about this just to see if the big pause, as we're calling it, impacts them releasing information such as the monthly firearms compliance inspection results. Unfortunately, the answer is yes. So we do know they're hot and heavy conducting inspections all over the country. We've got a slew of them going on right now. So right now we'll see what happens. We're hoping we should have had an answer by now. I know I've got a lot of FFLs that are awaiting or believe that they're going to be facing administrative action or some sort of adverse action against their license, but nothing's really happening. And a lot of things are up in the air right now, which is very frustrating, not only to our clients, our FFL partners, and ourselves, but it's annoying and the patience is running thin at the field division level as well. So because they're kind of stuck in a what do we do with this type situation. So speculation. There's going to be a lot of decisions being handed down on current adverse action, current administrative action items. But we believe there will also be some decisions handed down about individuals who either were revoked previously or surrendered previously, and what that means as far as can they reapply for a license, etc. So a lot up in the air right now. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and don't be fooled. We do feel that I want to say the frequency of inspections is continuing as it was before Trump. We have not seen a reprieve. I would estimate when we do see these numbers that we have between 700 or 800 per month being conducted. We last week had 3 start. We have 6 total. I have 6 total that we're monitoring. JC, I know you got a bunch too that you're waiting on
Oh yeah,
concluding.
yeah, tons.
And I'm going to talk here briefly that, this is my opinion, but we feel that there's a lot of newbies out there, new IOIs who are traveling around with area supervisors or being supervised by senior IOIs through their first inspection. And we're getting cited in some locations for the stupidest, littlest, smallest grammatical, spelling, uh, punctuation, city names, abbreviations, and as such on violations as violations. So you used to talk about major and minor violations. Then we were talking about revocable violations and zero tolerance violations. Now we just have to say all violations. So again, guys, it's all about training, staying compliant, supervising your people. We'll get through more of that in just a minute. So here's some interesting information though. We did go on, we were able to look at the numbers posted on the ATF website, and we're not telling them that this is incorrect data or information, but right off the website, here's what we want to show you. So here's the Biden administration history. They're showing 1,087 revocations. Now, we don't know what the heading is inspections and qualifying violations cited regardless of outcome. Well, according to our records, we had almost 1,100 revocations throughout the 3 years. So that the outcome on those was revoke, lose your license, sell your business, liquidate. So we're not sure what this heading really means because our numbers align with this being the actual revocations. And then you have this next. You go to a different web page they have posted with more statistical information, and this is what you find. They say only 794 FFLs were revoked, and they say 494 voluntarily closed.
Voluntarily ceased operations, which means they surrendered their license. I like the wording.
Yeah, in other words, they were influenced to revoke to surrender versus go through the hearing process. And remember, we were talking about, hey, have you considered surrendering your license, or do you have $20,000 for a lawyer? Blah blah blah. So we're not sure where these numbers come from, but you got to be careful what you're looking at online, and you got to be careful what you're hearing from folks. We do, other folks on the internet. We do think it's closer to 11 or 1,200 in the end. I don't know if we'll ever really figure it out. But in the end here, they're even saying, over 2,000 got into that hopper. They got into the hopper of either getting revoked or not getting revoked. That's a lot of folks that could have avoided it by being compliant. So we're happy again that you're here and learning. So here's what happened. This is the 5 revocable deadly sins, quote unquote, that Biden first came out with early on. And these aren't new. These weren't new at all. They're in the Gun Control Act. If you read through the inspection process and what's required, these violations have always been there. It's just really the enforcement of such that became zero tolerance. So we want you to continue again through our inspections and what the ATF publishes. Continue on these big two. It's the transferring the prohibited to a prohibited person, either intentionally or unintentionally. It doesn't have to be proven. It doesn't have to be with intent. It doesn't have to be criminal. Okay, somebody mischecks a box, or you transfer to someone who checked a qualifying question yes instead of no, and we didn't catch it. Or they had maybe the incorrect date of birth, didn't check the background check correctly, and they passed because you misentered the date of birth on a background check, and you accidentally transferred to a prohibited person. Or how about those delays? We gave somebody a gun on a delay because we didn't get a response back and they turned out to be prohibited. And it's all ugly. All right. So here on the webinars and Ask Us Anything, we teach you the best practices that we see out there from all of you, and we share them with you. So make sure you're not transferring intentionally or unintentionally to a prohibited person. And that includes straw purchasing. We're not talking about straw purchasing today, but you're really going to keep your eye on that. And then failing to conduct a required background check correctly. I guess we should answer it. We should add that word at the end of that second one, correctly and accurately. That's where everyone gets in trouble. All right. And here we go, guys. 5 smart things every FFL should be doing. And just a reminder from JC here that you should be typing any questions you have into that chat box, and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. But here you go. 5 smart things every FFL should do to avoid any adverse action from the ATF. Ready? First one, upgrade to digital software for your Form 4473 process and the A&D book. Now, whether or not it integrates with your POS system is another conversation and a whole webinar. But hey, try to get electronic 4473 in place. We're not going to talk about anything else. We're not talking about POS or cloud storage or pawnbrokers versus gun dealers or gunsmithing. But that electronic 4473 from a reputable vendor, and we do have a list. You can always email us for our list, and we'll send you those 25 questions to ask every vendor when you're trying to figure out who's right for you. Upgrade. When the ATF comes in for an inspection and they know you have electronic or digital 4473, they take a big sigh of relief because they know you're going to be better than the average person out there using the pen and paper process. Number 2, review all prior ATF inspection results to prevent any repeat inspection violations. No matter how good or bad you are in your next inspection, if you have a repeat, by law, you all know this, by law, that will lead to adverse action. It will lead to at least a warning, and it could lead to a revocation. Okay, the process is not changing. The only thing, again, that's changing is the enforcement of the zero tolerance process. So don't let your hair down, let your hair down, take a deep breath, but don't lose faith in your program. Don't lose focus on keeping that pedal to the metal. We have to keep your compliance as at the top of the as much as you can do it. You got to keep it at top performance, peak performance. All right. Number 3, require double or triple check of every 4473 before the firearm transfer. And the reason we're talking about these because these things work. Every week, between JC and I, every month, I know we get 400, 500, 600 calls from you and from FFLs who are just looking for help. They find us online or find us through a friend. And we love the referrals, but not double or triple checking the 4473 before transfer is detrimental to your business. We had one this morning while we were going through our practicing our presentation. We practice, right? Can't get it right the first time without practicing, but we go ahead and take calls all day long, weekends, holidays, you name it. And this is a big process. Is a big problem rather is having a problem after the customer leaves, maybe never being able to get that customer back, maybe never being able to contact him or her. Maybe it's a gun show and you never see him again. You didn't get their email or phone number. Trying to fix a problem after the fact can be detrimental to your inspection process, and it can lead to a revocation. Make sure that 2 or 3 times check is always in process. And if you're a one-man person, if you're one man or one woman process, slow down. Take a look at that 2 or 3 times, before you transfer the firearm. We understand there's a lot of you out there, home-based dealers as well. Check it 3 times before you transfer it again. And I said that 5 times. Conduct an all-gun inventory at least 4 times a year. We got inspected. We have an inspection from last week where the last inspection was almost a year ago. I'm sorry, the last inventory was almost a year ago. And how do you tell the ATF that you may have lost that gun since last year? Is that negligent? Is that being corporately responsible? Is that what you should be doing as a gun dealer? Well, probably no. And there is no ATF firm policy on how many times a year you should perform an inventory, but we say at least 4 times a year. And I know many of you do it monthly, and many of you have some great scanning programs in place, but make sure all of that information is correct and accurate, including serial numbers, model information, caliber, etc. And number five, create an ATF communications log. We've been talking about this for years to track your traces, your calls, your inspections, investigative activities when they show up and ask for a copy of a 4473. Any training events like today that you're sitting on this training event today, or any ATF sessions you go to, or other webinars you may attend. Jot it all down. That will play heavily into a defense if and if you ever get into a hearing process or a warning process. You got to go to a warning conference. You want to be able to provide your information and data to show that you've tried hard to do it right as an FFL. You do have that responsibility. All right. Okay, I'm going to jump into some legal updates here, and it's going to be focused on just a couple of states. But everyone needs to know this. If you're from Colorado, uh, we will be sending a comprehensive email out to you this afternoon. We've got it ready. We just want to put some fine points on it. But hey, Colorado is in an ugly place. I hate to say it. Thankfully, I have all my guns. JC, stock up if you have to. HB 241349. What is this all about? This is a firearms, ammunition, and excise tax. And yes, it does affect any FFL doing business in Colorado. If you're shipping in or selling to or on gun broker to people in Colorado, it is a 6.5% excise tax of net taxable sales. This is retail on firearms, firearm ammunition, and firearms precursor parts. All right. It's not every accessory, it's just precursor parts, basically the essential parts of a firearm to make it fire. Who pays? All right, who pays and who has to register for this? It's any FFL shipping, sending, or selling to residents of Colorado. Again, at retail, not distributors, not wholesale. Okay, if you're shipping in and you're doing a lot of business in Colorado, again, everybody thought it was just Colorado FFLs, but it's not. It's anyone outside of Colorado, any FFL in America shipping guns, selling guns to residents. If you're a Colorado resident, if you're a Colorado FFL, you must register. Whether or not you have 20,000 in annual retail sales or of ammo, guns, or parts. Okay, if you didn't know that. So again, we're doing this, guys. We're sending it out to the folks who have contacted us and registered with us, but there's 1,700 gun dealers, and I think we only have about 80 Coloradans that are going to get the email today. But if you're watching this on YouTube, everyone doing business as an FFL in Colorado must register whether or not you're going to hit that 20,000 annual mark. Okay, and you got to register by April 1st. There are exemptions for sales to peace officers, law enforcement agencies, and active duty military. We have no idea how to help you track those through your POS system and how to exclude those from the calculation each year.
If we had
The
that
fee,
answer, we'd probably be in a better place.
yeah, yeah, we'd probably be in charge of Colorado law or something like
Oh
that.
boy.
And it will be paid monthly. So starting April 1st, this starts to calculate, and the first payment is going to be due on May 20th, I think. So they give you 20 days to figure it out once the month closes, and that's it. Make your payment online. Again, more information will be coming to everyone in Colorado. If you're outside of Colorado, if you're an FFL listening to this webinar, give us an email direct, and we'll send you the documents we're making available to the Colorado FFLs. They're telling us the purpose of this is to prevent mental health, blah blah blah. We think it's for another obvious reason to close down the firearms industry in Colorado. All right, now if that wasn't enough, that's the most current one. Then Colorado has Bill 1353. It's going to impose regulations on firearm gun dealers and to anyone selling to customers inside of Colorado. So again, this is going to have you're going to have to pay attention to all of this. But for Colorado FFLs, this is going to take effect July 1st, and a lot of you know about this already. Again, in April, we'll be sending a more comprehensive note, or maybe later this month, regarding this bill. But it's all about everything California does, and Washington State does, and Illinois State does.
Yep.
And some of you other blue states out there, this is coming to your neck of the woods very soon. I am sure it's just a copy and paste with some other ridiculous restrictions and requirements. It is still under appeal. Okay, there's many organizations trying to appeal this right now, so that's why we don't want to get deep into this today. But if you're doing business in Colorado, again, they're going to impose licensing fees, licensing, testing, licensing of your employees and testing of your employees and background checks, et cetera, security of your goods, all the crazy stuff that they try to do to financially put you out of business. So stay in touch with us. Again, if you're just watching this for the first time, sign up with us and we'll keep you updated on anything happening in Colorado. The more concerning rule that everyone's been calling us about is what we call SB3. This one is about semi-automatic firearms and rapid-fire devices being illegal in the state of Colorado. It's under appeal, but it will be appealed. It got approved last week through what we call amendments and rehearings or three-part hearings. Colorado is just a bad state to live in and do business in if you're a gun dealer or love guns, but we're going to make it through. And if you can make it through, like we have in other states, you're going to be successful because there's going to be a lot of FFLs saying, I'm not going to deal with this, but if you figure out how to do it, you can be the last man standing. And that's what we promote. Do it right, prepare for it, and you'll be one of those survivors. All right. So without getting deep in the woods on this one, it's going to restrict or require all gas-operated semi-automatic firearms to be regulated, possessed, purchased, transferred, sent into the state, manufactured, distributed. Again, gas-operated semi-automatic firearms. Okay. The sheriffs are involved, the state's involved, the Department of Revenue is involved, the Department of Wildlife is involved. Of course, the politicians are involved. It's going to have many restrictions on having concealed carry permits or permits to purchase. So again, if you're selling online, you're going to have to know and make sure requirements are all in place before you ship or sell to anyone. You guys all resident inside of Colorado, stay tuned with us. Again, we'll be putting together comprehensive documentation to send to you as things are finalized. We don't waste a lot of time on the what ifs, okay? But we do spend a lot of time once the bills are finalized and an effective date is set. So this one is ugly, but it's set for September 2025 if finalized, if signed by the governor. We still have about 30 days or so to get through this one, but it could turn the way we sell firearms across the country in some of these blue states upside down. Oh wait, California already did that. All right. Hey, Oregon, in case you didn't hear, ballot measure 114 was re-engaged last week and re-implemented by a lovely judge up where you are. So measure 114 is back on the table and will be in play to many restrictions and requirements for you. I think specifically permits to purchase, etc. So it was originally passed in 2022 and repealed, and there was a great judge in one little part of Oregon who was on the side of Second Amendment, but that has been reversed again. It's also going to do things like disapprove of any delayed transfer without an approval, going to restrict magazines. And right now there was a 35-day waiting period for appeals. So if nothing happens, we hope something does happen. But we're back on for April 17th for this to be a proposed effective date. Again, if you're doing business in Oregon or with Oregon residents online, you're going to have to stay tuned and figure out things before you ship guns and sell guns. All right. So how do you keep track of all this, guys? This is not an easy task at all. Between JC and I, we split this up. We split up the country. We try to keep track of everything. We cross-reference it monthly. And then we issue our exclusive restricted states guide for FFLs. Okay, it's one way to avoid violations through an inspection. And believe me, you will get violated. The ATF is getting better at this too. If they find a state violation, such as we had recently where it was a Georgia FFL accidentally shipped a gun to Illinois to an FFL in Illinois that was restricted. Oh, I'm sorry. And they also had somebody from Illinois come visit them and pick up a gun, a long gun, because they didn't check their restricted states guide and make sure that didn't happen. So things like that happen, guys. You can't afford for stuff like that to happen. You'll wind up in the hot seat. So, hey, avoid violations, right? And there's many, many different types of violations you can get yourself stuck on. Assault weapons, high capacity mags, restriction on shipping or selling ammo, age restrictions, out-of-state purchasing, CC, remember this, never accept a CCL from another state. I think I forgot to mention that earlier, but hold requirements. A lot of states have special hold requirements. Forget about New Mexico. You guys are totally weird. 7 days, 20 days delays. Who knows? Just use your caution. Here's all the states with, and all these reds over here represent all the northeast states: Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. You got all types of New York. You got all types of crazy stuff happening up there. So hey, keep in touch. How do you keep in touch with the requirements? Well, you go to fflconsultants.com. Now, don't do this until tomorrow. Don't do this. Don't download the new. We have to update it. We didn't get it up posted in time. We hope to have it posted by 3 p.m. on Wednesday, March 18th. So don't download it today. It's going to be outdated. Okay. But you'll see the little revised date in the bottom right corner of that form. It started out as one page about 5 years ago, and I think now it's up to 5 or 6 pages. That's how bad it is and how hard it is to be a gun dealer in America. So again, go to our website, FFL Consultants. You'll find it under the Forms and Tools tab. Just go up to the Forms and Tools tab at the top, and you'll find a Restricted States Guide on the drop-down menu. Make sure you keep up with that monthly. Hey, 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 here we go. JC and I are on the road again. Oh, I should have had that song here. On the road again. Willie Nelson. Coming to you, ATF, FBI NICS Retailer Training Days. We do this every year. Thank you to the NSSF and the ATF, the FBI NICS team for budgeting this. It's one way we can get out in front of you and teach you in person, answer your questions. Everything about FBI NICS, any updates, and there will be updates. Watch the next slide here. There will be updates. There are some updates already, JC. Isn't there a box for initial only?
Yeah, there's going to be some changes coming to the 4473. It's going to be much like the last time where they did that kind of expedited intermediate or whatever interim 4473, like they did 2 versions ago when they added some of the stuff for the NICS. What was it? The NICS. The
Agenda. So anyway, we don't have
Yeah.
all the specifics, but back
Yeah.
to FBI NICS, on the screen today, I believe, when you do a middle initial only for a middle name, I believe there's a box there.
Yeah, there's going to be an initial only and an NMN. That thing is going to change a little bit. They're going to change the gender due to the executive order. I think a couple other things are going to change as well. So
Nothing crazy, nothing major, nothing, format wise, probably not, but some of the questions will change. But
yeah,
anyway, hopefully you got to look at the screen. And if these are all the next training days in the red boxes, I will be that handsome guy at the bottom left here. I'll be next week. I'll see you this coming weekend. Hopefully, if anybody's a pawnbroker in Texas, I'll see you at the Texas Association of Pawnbrokers convention next weekend. Don't miss my presentation. Bring your questions. See me at the NSSF booth. And then Pacific Northwest in May, Pawnbrokers, National Pawn Association in July, and the Dixie Pawn in September. Hope I see you guys. Make sure you stop by and say hi, if nothing else. Thank you very much. We'll see you there. If you are interested or want your staff to attend one of the NICS training days, this is critically important. You can't get in without a reservation. There's limited seating on all of these, and they always sell out. They're free, but they sell out seats, quote unquote. So there it is, NICS underscore. There's an underscore right here, okay? NICS underscore events at FBI.gov. Just send them your name, your FFL name, and the date you'll be attending, your FFL number, and how many people. All right, send as many as you want. You can't beat the training. It's great. It's real. And we will be there to answer questions with real fast answers. Nothing, no gobbledygook. We'll tell you the real deal. All right. See you guys there. Again, take a picture of the screen if you need it. NICS underscore events at FBI.gov.
there's 100 seats available at each of these events, so there's no excuse not to go. If you're within close proximity, please get registered. It's a great opportunity for you. Not only get some FaceTime with NICS, but get FaceTime with ATF as well. They will be there. They will do training at each one of these events. Maybe we'll have a new 4473 to go over. Who the heck knows?
All right. All right, and just a reminder, you will hopefully by then they'll have more information on the used firearm database they keep promising us about, and how to access that for checking used guns and pawn guns, and also the firearm handler checks or FHCs, how to do free background checks on your employees as you hire them. All right, and that's all going to be done through the NICS platform, electronic NICS.
Yep.
All right, guys, as you say, we said it many times today. We said, come on, slow down on these 4473s. No matter, we've been doing this for years, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years now. We do inspections every week, and we still see even people on these, you know who you are. You're on these webinars, we're still finding citable violations on your 4473s when we come through to do that NSSF mock audit inspection. Yes, we get them fixed, but we want to find them before the ATF does, right? JC, guess what time it is?
True or false then?
Hey guys, trying to test your knowledge here. Here we go. Just let's see. Just drop a T in your chat box if you think it's a true answer, or an F if it's a false answer. It's that easy. Let's have some fun. Ready? And again, we take these questions from calls we take from you in the prior month. These are all from recent calls, so it's fresh and not stale. It's real stuff that we want to make sure you have a good understanding on. So hey, first question, it's okay, yeah, true or false, it's okay to repair or pawn a handgun for someone under 21 years old. It's
A
okay to,
lot of trues coming in, huh?
yeah, or pawn a handgun. Well, we're going to tell you something, guys. We went to the ATF and got clarification on everything regarding under 21 because there's confusion out there. So the answer is you cannot repair or pawn a handgun for someone under 21 years old because you have to dispose it to them. There's a phrase in the Gun Control Act that says you cannot sell, transfer, or otherwise dispose a handgun to anyone under 21 as a FFL. So hey, that's the simple answer there. All right. If you got more on that, hit us up during the rapid fire Q&A at the end. An FFL can use a tax form W-2 for Form 4473, question 26 to verify true name or address. Which again, JC?
Oh my goodness. Let's see what's coming in here.
W-2.
Is that some trues, some falses? Interesting. That is false. A W-2, unless it is a government form, but it may not be issued by a government entity. That's the key.
Yeah, so be careful of that. We get a lot of people asking that question, especially this time of year, or last couple of months. Now, if the W-2 is from the city police department or fire department or municipally owned, a government issued utility or other entity, they're a city worker, government worker, that's fine. That's a government issued document, but not otherwise. So the average W-2 is not going to be accepted for 26B. All right. All right, it's okay to run the background check before customer completes the 4473 Section B. True or false? It's okay to run the background check before the customer completes Section B. True or false?
Apparently, they've been listening because everybody's putting a false.
Yeah, I'm glad about that. But the
Yeah.
reason we put it on here is we're getting calls about people having to fix their 4473s after the fact and after the customer leaves with the gun because they didn't notice something on there or they didn't notice somebody checked yes instead of no. And we're talking more about those handwritten forms. Again, a great reason why you should go digital. The digital platforms prevent you from moving forward or transfer if everything isn't almost perfect. All right, I don't need to worry about printing or downloading or saving monthly reports or invoices from the states for background checks as it takes too long and is unimportant. So I shouldn't worry about any of my background check information, NTNs, control numbers after I
Well,
put.
they've definitely been listening.
All
Correct.
right, that's a
That is a
false. We're still getting lots of calls, guys, 1 or 2 a week at least. Me, JC, you're probably getting the same number of what to do if I missed the NICS number, or I only have 8 digits, or I forgot to put it in, or my employee entered a driver's license number, or just stupid questions. So having those reports and all of that backup in your buddy files or in your computer saved someplace is critical. All right. All right. I don't need workers' comp insurance if my employees have their own medical insurance. True or false? And for a lot of you who have ranges, this is an even bigger question, right? So much can happen to an employee on a range. I don't need workers' comp insurance. What do you think? What do you think, Jason? Let's see.
I think everybody is saying false. So good job.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean someone hasn't called about that in the last couple of weeks to ask us that question. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. JC, you got any horror stories in this one? Anything comes to mind?
You name it. There's all kinds of horror stories. There are employees who suffer injury due to an accidental discharge. There's employees working on a range that injure themselves. You have slip and fall situations. I mean, there are any number of things that could happen in the workplace. Some of you may be in states where the state does all the workers' comp stuff, and others may be in a state where you're required to obtain workers' comp through your own means. And there are also state laws that say if you're not going to offer workers' comp, you have to, by state law, notify the state that you're not going to. So it can get complicated. Insurance can be complicated. Take it from JB and I. We've worked on the business side of things relative to workers' comp and liability and all that kind of stuff. And I can tell you, you need to protect yourself. I mean, think about it. A multi-billion-dollar lawsuit could put you out of business really quick. So
Yeah.
be careful with that.
Yeah, if your employee lifts a couple boxes of ammo, strains a back, and is kind enough to go out for a couple of days without pay and use their own medical insurance, you're lucky. You know, when they talk to Uncle Charlie, who's an attorney, and says, "What the heck? You know, your employees should be doing all that, and you don't have the right insurance coverage in place. You could be sunk for all out of pocket expense, and you could also receive penalties from the state if you don't have the right insurance in place." All right, it's okay if I change my business hours without telling the ATF. True or false?
What do we got here? A bunch of falses coming in.
Yeah.
We were going through this morning. I was wondering if all the questions were going to be falses.
Yeah, so listen, ATF shows up on a day that you no longer in business and you forgot to tell them, you're in trouble.
Yep.
You know, that's unacceptable. You got to let them in. You got to be there. You go on
Yep.
vacation, make sure that you're telling them you're on vacation. Make sure you contact your local IOI office and let them know you're going to be in Hawaii for a week on vacation or at a wedding in Mexico or whatever it might be. It might be just be out of might be in the mountains for 3 days, you know, skiing or something crazy like we do. It's better to have only one person listed as an RP on my FFL in case I get revoked. That way my wife can apply for an FFL later. True or false?
Oh, let's see what this is coming in here. Falses. All falses. Everybody's a falsy, false, false, false. It's
Yeah,
correct.
there's a lot of you out there. I've met a few over the last couple of weeks that only had yourself listed as an RP on the license. And this is one of the reasons why we don't want you to do that. You know, if something happens to you tomorrow night on the way home from the restaurant, you know, somebody has to be able to have saying authority to make decisions on your business. So
Yep.
you at least need a second person. Yeah, that person doesn't have to be affiliated wholeheartedly with the business. You know, should be a member of the LLC if you're an LLC. But if you got other questions on this, contact JC. He is our licensing expert, and he'll give you more information on the ins and outs of this question.
There are a lot of ins and outs and a lot of opportunities with
And
that.
we've had to scramble, truth be told, we've had to scramble several times in the last few years where something tragic happened to the primary FFL without a secondary FFL on the license. So you don't want the ATF confiscating your firearms. All right, if my customer shows me a letter reinstating their rights for firearms, I should agree with them and that it's okay to complete the Form 4473. We have a lot of this
Yeah.
stuff
I
popping up
can't
lately.
wait to see the answers to
A
this.
lot of this stuff. Is it okay to allow when a customer says, "I have my letter reinstating my rights," and they ask you, the FFL, to can they fill out the 4473? What do you say? What do you got, JC?
I got a couple trues, believe it or not.
We're gonna cover.
Mostly falses, but I did get a couple trues in there.
We're
Yeah,
gonna
you guys
cover.
got to be careful with this one. Just because their rights have been reinstated by a court doesn't necessarily mean anything. It depends completely on the order, and how the order was written by the judge. And I've seen all different variations of this. Your best bet is to stop the transaction right there and have that individual go file for a UPIN to make sure that their record has been cleared. We find a lot of times that the court order doesn't necessarily provide specifics or details that are needed for each jurisdiction to do what is necessary to restore someone's rights from having firearm disabilities, is what it's called. So you have to be really, really careful with this, because the court order might say, take it out of here, but that file hasn't been uploaded to NICS if you're a NICS state, or maybe it hasn't uploaded to the state database. It just really depends. So you want to be careful with this. We actually had, I just did an inspection, I think it was last week or the week before, where the FFL, the customer marked yes, that they were a felon, and then wrote in restoration of rights. And that was it. And I was like, why did you run a background check on this person? He self identified. Well, he had a restoration of rights. That doesn't mean anything. And oh, by the way, the individual was denied. So, be very careful with this.
Yeah, and last time I looked, I wasn't an attorney, and JC's not an attorney, and some of you are, but most of you are not attorneys. So, as we always tell you, refer them to their attorney, and you can't, otherwise, we shouldn't be answering that question. Right. All right. Next. An FFL should always check the photo ID against the Form 4473 Section B prior to running the background check. Compare the ID against lines 9 and 10 on the 4473 100% of the time. True or false?
I got trues coming in. Lots and lots of
Yeah.
trues.
I mean, that's a given, guys. But
Yeah.
I got to tell you, sadly, 3, 4, 5 times a week, somebody calls us because this step is either missed by your employee or just not a step implemented as a zero tolerance in your own store. So make sure we're always, I see it all the time. I see the customer fill out a 4473, and I see the employee in front of the next screen with the ID typing it in before the section B is even completed. That's my personal observation. We know it happens. It shouldn't. When acquiring a Mossberg 500 combination shotgun, we all know what that is, right? With the pistol grip attached and a stock in the box, I can acquire it as a type equals shotgun. True or false? When I see that Mossberg 500 combo kit comes in, and it comes in with the pistol grip attached to the receiver without with the stock in the box, how do I receive that? Can I receive it as a shotgun? True or false?
We got a bunch of false.
All right.
Yeah. So just remember, if that stock is not affixed, or that we've seen it where the pistol grip and the stock are not affixed for some reason. And if you have that situation, you really should call the sending FFL and see how they had it in their books. So please mute your microphones.
You got that?
I got it.
All right. It's not a big issue or violation if I accidentally acquire an old firearm that turns out to be full auto. True or false? It's not a big issue or violation if I accidentally acquire a full auto, and obviously you're not an SOT.
Oh, Edgar, Edgar couldn't stop hitting false.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had a couple of these in the last month, which is
Yep.
kind of weird. They're old guns.
Really old guns.
If you don't know the old guns, even I had to get JC online last week, and we had to get the internet working, and we had to make some phone calls. We had something and we couldn't figure it out. It was a 1942 firearm, old, limited markings, just had this little thing that said F on it. The only selected switch was F. Anyway, if it's full auto, no, 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 unless you have an SOT. All right. All right. Next, I do not have to acquire into my A&D book an upper receiver or a barreled action for a hunting rifle. I do not have to acquire it into my bound book if it's an upper receiver or a barreled action for a hunting rifle. And I'll add here that has a serial number attached.
Believe it or not, I got a few trues and a bunch of falses. That is false. That is considered a firearm. So remember that barreled action, with the receiver and the barrel attached, that is considered a firearm. So you want to make sure that you're receiving that as a receiver in your bound book.
Yeah, it's an upper receiver, lower receiver. It's just a receiver. But we're seeing a lot of these, JC. I think I saw some Zagat, Zagat.
They've become very popular
Yeah,
again because everybody's making custom rifles now.
yeah. And why not have one stock that I like having, but I can interchange my calibers, my barrels. It's almost like that SIG, was it FCU? You're popping into different frames and lengths and so
Yeah.
be careful. You get these in and they're expensive. I mean, we've seen a lot, they're 12, 15, $1,800. They come in, they got a serial number on it. Either
Yep.
call us or do some research.
And don't confuse barreled actions with and all that with an AR lower receiver. Totally different things. So we're talking about bolt action type firearms. So just be aware of that. The receiver is still a receiver as far as an AR is concerned. The upper receiver, where you have the bolt carrier group and a barrel, that is still not a regulated item. So
Good. All right. I can accept an unexpired limited term driver's license as ID for the Form 4473. I can accept an unexpired limited term driver's license for the 4473.
got a mixed bag on this one, JB. True and false. True and false.
That's a true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Typically, when you see the limited term, it kind of it should send up a flag for you to really look at the situation because the individual, there could be a number of reasons, but the more prominent reason for somebody having a limited term, some states will only issue a driver's license on limited term if you're on a green card or if you're here as a non-resident alien
Yeah. And a lot of
or
these are,
non-immigrant alien, sorry, non-immigrant alien.
yeah, a lot of these are coming in for visa holders. So that's another red flag. You see, it's limited term, it's okay, but ask them if they have a visa and check those 21 M1 and then M2. See how they answer those questions. We're finding a lot of these, especially with all the immigration that happened over the last couple of years. So we can transfer a gun, just make sure everything's in place and keep a copy of the hunting license if they are here on a visa. It's okay to sell a handgun to someone under 21 as long as they have a concealed carry permit. It's okay to sell a handgun to someone under 21 as long as they have a concealed carry permit. And we get a lot of this, we get this question from a lot of those states where a concealed carry permit can bypass or be used as an exemption to the background check.
Yep. Lots of falses. Lots and lots of falses.
All right.
Good job.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, oh, oh, oh,
see,
oh.
gave the answer away.
All right, a fire control unit should be acquired as type equals frame. A fire control unit, similar to the SIG FCU. I think there's some other manufacturers doing the same thing now. They fit into multiple frames, one control unit. Is the type equals frame, true or false?
No, we gave the answer away already anyway, but
Yeah, we've
yeah, we
had
got lots of truths. Very good.
now we've had a lot of different direction on this in the past. We've called them FCUs. We put fire control unit in as a type, but we went to ATF recently because of an inspection issue, and the preference is frame. Okay, handgun frame. It's a handgun type of control unit. It equals frame. Long gun would be receiver. It's okay to purchase a used handgun from someone 18, 19, or 20 years old. Different question from before. It's okay to purchase a used handgun from someone 18, 19, or 20 years old.
Lots of truths, but a few falses, believe it or not.
We said you couldn't transfer to someone under 21, but yes, you can purchase a used handgun from someone 18, 19, 20 years old. You just follow your protocols for documenting who you're getting that gun from, blah, 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 blah. It's okay if I have multiple stores and my employees signed into Nix using the wrong store account. Example, floating employees between stores. It's okay if I have multiple stores and my employees signed into Nix using the wrong store account.
Yeah, truths and falses. Hmm. Truths and falses. Yeah, that would be false. We run into this quite a bit, and especially when there's the assignment is an organizational lead, what Nix calls an organizational lead, which allows them to get into multiple locations. You have to make sure either A, you're signed into the right location, or B, you've selected the right location to run the background check. It becomes very challenging, especially if you find it after the fact and especially after 24 hours. So,
And especially during an ATF inspection, because they're going to be looking for NICS control numbers that are not assigned to the store they're inspecting. You're going to find those people checked through a different account and at a different store. So we've had this again, these questions come from actual experiences from inspections we've been handling over the last month or two. So don't let this happen. Make sure everybody signs in correctly, especially if they're moving between stores. All right, there's a rumor, JC, that the
rumor,
new FFL issued soon. True or false?
a new 4473 issued? Yep. It'll be coming.
All right.
There's going to be the NICS Denial Notification Act. If you remember, 2 versions ago, they came out with that like interim 4473 for a real short period of time, kind of under an emergency order type thing. Well, with Trump issuing the executive order to there's only 2 genders, that changes the form. There's going to be some changes for IO and MN. We mentioned that earlier. It's going to mirror NICS, and there'll be check boxes. They were trying to get that in. So, some minor changes, but some changes nonetheless. So keep an eye out for that. Obviously, we'll let you guys know when that'll be issued. It'll hit the Federal Register first, as is typically the case. So just an FYI.
All right.
Get ready.
Stay tuned for more. And hey, if you got any of those questions incorrect today, make sure you improve your knowledge with FFLC Academy. It's still up and running at the same location. We call it FFL Basic Training. Again, this is free, guys. I tell you, and it's sad when I come to one of your stores or JC visits one of you and you've been on these webinars. We've talked about this for over a year, and we still find lots of errors during our mock audit inspection process. And we find out that you haven't had your employees go through this process. It's easy. They can start and stop anytime. That's free. All they need is an email address to sign in with. It's all confidential. They get a certificate of completion, which again goes to something you can tell the ATF if and when you get in a snag on your process or during an inspection. So get your employees signed up. Let them take it. Let them get knowledgeable. Let them get educated. All right. Hey, we got the leaderboard. Who did well last month? Let's see. Hey, Jerry, North Carolina. Perfect on an ATF inspection. We had Israel up in Illinois. Another great job. Congratulations on all of you guys. Jim over in Texas. Steven and Sean over in Arizona. That was a big one. You guys were worried sick about that. Your first big inspection. Very nice. Perfect. 3 years worth of paperwork and thousands of forms they had to go through. Steve in Ohio, great job. Josh, Florida, nice job again down there. Tara, Ohio, awesome, Tara. We were sweating that one, but he came through squeaky clean. Ed in Louisiana had me visit, had a great inspection, and Stu over in Kentucky, another great inspection by us. And Nancy, there's Nancy. So guys, listen, congratulations, keep up the good work. But sadly, that's only 10 or 11 out of many, many, many that we visit and many, many inspections we hear about. So
We have a ton of inspections going on right now. It's
yeah.
pretty crazy.
Yep. Just a reminder, guys. Hey, ATF shows up. Please call us. Call us. Doesn't cost you anything if you're an NSSF or a VIP. Call us when the ATF. We'll help you through the process. But and if you're just a new FFL, you don't know anything about us. Your first we always answer your first couple questions for free. Call anytime with your compliance questions. You don't need to call and say how much do you cost. Just call us with your question. We'll get you the answers you need. We'll get you set up for success with an inspection, and we'll tell you about our other services that are available to you. So call. ATF 11 deadly sins. Remember, they only think there's 5, but we know there's at least 11 here that an inspection can get you in trouble. You can get in trouble with an inspection. Again, this is available on our website, fflconsultants.com, under the Forms and Tools page. Go download it, use it for your own training in-house. Call us if you got questions. And do you have PRM? A lot of people are still getting calls. What does it cost to join this National Shooting Sports Foundation or you guys? We always put you to it. We always want to, if you have no adverse action, we're going to point you in the direction of NSSF. Just call us directly. We'll get you signed up. We'll help you through the process, explain the program, schedule you for our next visit in your area. JC or I will be there and make sure we handle, confidential inspection, get things fixed before the ATF comes in and finds your errors and issues. And it's just $2 a day, 205 a day. You can't go wrong with that, guys. Got any questions? Give us a call. We'll get you signed up on that very quickly. And here we are, right on time for our FFL Ask Us Anything Rapid Fire Q&A. So JC, take a deep breath,
Rapid fire.
drink a sip of water. I'm going to run through these really fast. I ask the question, JC gives the answer. Keep your questions coming in the chat box. And are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. Watch Ask Us Anything Q&A, rapid fire. Any update on the New York ammo check was supposed to be heard in court on Friday? I don't have anything.
No.
I wrote that down.
Yeah.
I don't have anything on the ammo ban or the ammo license. I think it was license to purchase, registration of, and keeping track of everyone. Let me, whoever
Yeah.
wrote that in, Louis Gun Shop, give me an email on that, J Bacher or JB at FFL Consultants. Give me an email direct and I'll make sure I do the research for you and we get an answer for everyone. All right, greetings, I'm going through this real fast. Trying to get to the next, can barely hear you. Yeah, I know you can. Hopefully everybody can still hear me now. My two reps I've had since day one retired on Trump's office. 16 had them for 16 years. I don't know what that is. I don't know where do we go with zero? Where do we stand on zero tolerance? I think we went through that, but JC,
Yeah, zero tolerance is it's on pause. It's on pause right now. We've been expecting something actually right about now. We're probably about 2 weeks late as it is right now, so we're just kind of in a holding pattern. I know a lot of you are patience is wearing thin on what's going to happen to your license or what's not going to happen to your license. So we're in the same boat. We can't even get answers on little things right now. So just hang tight, stay tuned.
Yeah, and if you know anybody on the inside, tell Elon to cut some budget over in ATF. We'd all be happy. Oh, well, how's that sound? Yeah. I think that's what we were hearing. We have heard of a few retirees taking advantage of the severance, 8-month severance program,
Yeah.
but not a lot. A lot of folks were going to consider it, but they stuck around. They passed on it. So, meaning ATF and FBI. So, all right. Russell says, when I upgrade to digital A&D, what do I do with my paper records that can't be integrated into the digital form?
A couple things, and this is kind of a bigger picture thing. All paper forms previous, obviously, if you're switching to electronic storage, you have to notify ATF 60 days in advance. It's just a notification. Once that 60-day window starts, you can start securing and saving your 4473s to the cloud. Obviously, the cloud solution that you provide has to follow the rulings. And then any paper that you have prior, you have to maintain. Now, there is a caveat that if you have more than 3 years, so say you've been in business for 20 years, the last 3 years needs to remain in paper, but you can scan the other 4473s beyond that 3 years. So year 4 on. You can scan them. You got to make sure they're scanned properly. You got to scan all 7 pages. It's one of those things. I don't know if it's worth the time and effort. I haven't heard of anybody doing it, to be honest with you. So it's up to you.
Yeah, I haven't heard
If you have
either.
more questions on that, let me know.
Yeah. Back to that question is, if your guns were disposed before you go electronic, all your closed dispositions do not get updated. All your old history does not get put into the new digital platform. It's just open acquisitions.
Yep.
On the day you fully convert. And we have a process and a guide to walk you through all that. All right. Next, a background check comes back delayed, then 10 days after they change it to open. What does that mean?
Say that again.
A background check comes back delayed.
Oh,
Then
the
10
open
days
status.
later, they change it to open.
Yeah, the open status occurs when the Brady date is passed. So after those 3 government business days, Once that ends and they still haven't made a determination, obviously, per federal law, you can transfer the firearm once those 3 days expire. What the NICS system does is it actually transitions it from delayed to just open status, meaning it's still open, they're still researching it, etc.
Yeah, and that open will stay there forever until
Yep.
ATF either, until FBI either decides yes or no. And if they never decide yes or no, it'll stay open forever, and it'll stay in your next your query screen. It'll stay in your database as open. You can always look at it, but it doesn't mean they're still researching it. They only research it for about what 80 days or so, JC?
80, yeah, 88 days.
88 days, yeah. Okay. It would be helpful to have fellow FFLs across the country contact info for sales, inventory, movements, and transfers. I don't know. It would be helpful to have fellow FFLs across the country contact you would love to have the contact info for sales, inventory, management, and transfers. So just in case you guys don't know, there's two places you can get FFL information for every FFL in America. One is off the ATF website, and then two is at FFLs.com. FFLs.com is another place you can go. So if you're looking for a SWAT Rivera, if you're looking for info across the country without using internet, just go there. You can sort those different places by state, city, name, zip code, etc. Okay. FFLs.com is a great place to.
Yep.
Does the transferring FFL take the payment, or does the out-of-state gun seller need to pay this? I guess this is back to the Colorado tax.
Well, the excise tax, it's whoever the seller is.
Yeah, whoever collects the sale of the gun, the money for the sale of the gun.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you're selling guns and you just transfer them to Colorado FFLs to hand them off through a 4473 process for $16.50, it's the guy who collected the retail value of the gun who has to track the revenue. And then if you buy a used stripped AR-15 receiver from an FFL, can you use that receiver to make a pistol even if you don't know if that receiver started its life as a rifle? So if you're buying a stripped lower
Uh-huh.
and you don't know the history on that firearm, well, I guess
You receive it as what you receive it as. You have no control over that.
yeah. So if you
Yeah.
bring it in as a stripped lower
Yeah.
receiver and you build it into a pistol, you manufacture it into a pistol.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, JC, here's a different question on that one. Say I'm buying it at a retail. I'm a gun dealer. I'm an FFL buying a receiver at FFL off gun receiver at retail, not wholesale, and I build it into an AR on my manufacturing. If I'm not a Type 7,
If you're not a Type 7
that
as an FFL
that
and you
receiver's
receive it,
already in commerce.
yep.
But now I
Uh,
put it into a
well, if you're receiving it as an FFL and you receive a receiver and turn it into an AR, that's considered before it's entered commerce.
you can get
It'll
the,
be,
you can
yeah,
get the
it's
receiver.
kind of a weird rule the way that works, but um, if you build it and then your intention is to sell it as a rifle, whereas you received it as a receiver, that would be considered manufacturing.
Okay, it's kind of a little gray area on gunsmithing, guys. Be careful with that one. Call JC's the manufacturing expert here, so if you got building manufacturing questions, call him.
Yeah. But if it's entered into commerce, in other words, you've sold it to a non-licensee, that's a different story.
Yeah. Tim says we sell less than $20,000 of guns in Colorado. That means you still have to register, Tim, but you will not have to pay the tax until you hit that 20,000. But you still have to register because, as I see it and as I understand it, since it's not up and running yet, you're going to have to report monthly that you had no sales and you did not qualify. So again, anybody in Colorado got questions, watch for this email this afternoon and watch for the instructions on the Department of Revenue site. Ben says, I may have missed it, but what qualifies as a firearm precursor part? That's also explained out there on the Department of Revenue site, Tim or Ben. But basically, it's anything that contributes to the functioning of the firing of the firearm. So it does include triggers, hammers. I read this last week just to be sure. Springs, firing pins, barrels, etc. Precursor parts take on a different definition in different states. So don't go by the California rules, which is different. precursor parts, or anything essential to the firing of the gun. It's not replacement sights, and it's not scopes and optics, and it's not replacement grips, for example. Those are still considered accessories. What Tim says, what about receivers? I don't understand that question, Tim. If you want to retype, go ahead. Gerald says, in Colorado, selling on GunBroker as a non-Colorado FFL, as I assume that GunBroker will calculate the charge and correct tax. Oh, you're a dreamer. Gerald, I have no idea if GunBroker is going to do anything for FFLs selling or shipping guns to customers in Colorado. So keep your close eye on that.
Generally speaking, they don't get involved in that part of it. So,
yeah. And JC and I were laughing. We have no idea, off the record, we have no idea how anyone is going to keep track of this and audit to it and that type of thing. So, but we don't take our word for it. Somebody might come up with something weird. All right. Dan, to everyone, regarding Colorado license, I gotta get there. And fees, I sell online using guns.com. They're actually performing the sales to the buyer when they ship the firearm. It has my FFL included with the paperwork. Who is responsible regarding paying the fee? Great question, Dan.
whoever's selling the gun,
Yeah, I think if you
whoever it's all predicated on the retail sale.
Yeah.
So if you're not the retail seller of that firearm, then they would be responsible for the excise tax.
Unfortunately, Dan, I understand your question, but you're gonna have to redirect that to guns.com directly and ask how they're going to either take on some of that responsibility or make it all pass through back to you. All right. I think it's going to be a pass through back to you somehow. Bob says, it appears that a bunch of Californians have moved to Colorado. We totally.
Yeah, entirely too many.
Okay, know about these. Wayne, yeah, of course, Washington. Yeah, so Wayne, DC does know about these bills in Colorado and other states. JC, can you talk to your involvement with NSSF and everything?
Oh, the working group, Colorado working group.
Yeah, well, well, JC is the guy who gets involved in all the NSSF state attorney issues here on the West Coast, or west of the Mississippi, I guess. And
For the most part, yeah.
yeah, so Washington D.C. is in the state attorneys and federal and they are totally in tune to what's going on and all these bills. There's nothing that gets by them. NSSF does a super job making sure NSSF is based in Connecticut, but has a bigger office in Washington, D.C. on the Hill.
Yeah.
So Larry Keene and his team is every day pounding the doors of senators and congressmen and representatives regarding what's happening in the states. So the answer is yes. Again, another reason to support your NSSF and other organizations. Aaron says, if a firearm is purchased and taxes are paid to the seller on GunBroker prior to April 1st. Yeah, again, anybody doing anything on GunBroker or Gun Buyer or guns.com, you're going to have to talk to them directly on how they're dealing with this Colorado issue. But I'm glad you're asking because the fines are horrible if you miss it.
Oh, yeah. Terrible.
Terrible. Thousands of dollars. First offense, this offense, third offense, criminal misdemeanors, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
They're not paying taxes. So be careful.
Terrible.
Big issue.
Yep.
Colorado School of Trades, any updates on, the litigation, SB 23-169, under 21 prohibition? Nothing in the news, not on the docket, and we don't think it's being heard at all right now.
Yeah. There was a ruling by a federal court in Louisiana, correct, JB?
Yes.
That said it was unconstitutional, but obviously that remains to be seen on whether or not there'll be an appeal. So.
Yeah, so Virginia had the same thing last year, so we can only assume if that pops up its ugly head that Pam Bondi's office is looking at that as well. Okay, if you're a Colorado FFL just doing a transfer from a firearm purchased online out of state, the 6.5 does not apply to the transfer. It is up to the seller to collect and pay such tax.
That is correct.
Yeah, so basically, guy, whoever's putting the money in the pocket at the end of the day is the person collecting the revenue, so to speak.
Yep.
That's if you cut through all the tax law, it's the benefactor of the revenue. Yeah. Grapevine Nick's show moved to Cabela's north of Fort Worth, I believe. JC, that shows. Can you check into that?
Yeah, I already checked into that. That is correct.
Okay. So anyone, Cabela's.
The Cabela's has a bigger meeting area than the Bass Pro did. So yes, it is moving to Fort Worth.
So if you're thinking about going to Grapevine, Nix, either contact JC or Nix directly.
That was after we had agreed on the dates and locations and coordinated everything with ATF.
Where's the list of the Nix events? Wayne, give us an email. We'll send you that list.
Is that Wayne, the gunroom Wayne?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. There are no NICS events for point of contact states, so you're aware. If you are not a NICS state, you're not going to get a NICS retailer days.
Yeah. Yeah. So Nix doesn't come to places like Colorado.
No.
That's why you have us. Yeah.
Yep.
Great question coming in. All right, guys, let me get through this true false. I like you guys. You guys like playing true false. That's great. All right, chat room. What? Next question. What about speeding ticket to confirm the address?
A speeding ticket?
Absolutely. If it's issued,
Yeah, it's issued by a government agency.
yeah,
That'll be a first. I've never seen or heard of that before.
we get, and guys, if you ever have a question, you can take a picture of the document, text it to us. That's the easiest way to get us to look at things like PCS orders that are weird or government documentation. We had a subpoena. Somebody used a subpoena last month. Somebody used a speeding ticket, a notice to appear, a WIC, women, infant, children, a WIC thing, something from the food stamp confirmation agency for the state. So anything that is government issued, Veterans Administration, I mean, kind of we have a whole list we send you if you want that list. Email us, we'll send it to you. But there's 100 organizations out there who could be sending a city, state, town, a violation. Somebody had a lien from their county on their property for an issue that they didn't fix. So that was
Yep.
anything.
Government issued.
Anything
Just has to be issued by a government agency. It doesn't matter what level of government. Government agency, and you just need to notate in 26B what you looked at.
Yeah,
What
and
the
you guys
form
all know the
was.
loophole, the fishing license, the one-day fishing license works well all the time if you can make that happen. All right.
Yeah.
Can you take a utility bill as a proof of address?
Only if it's a government entity. So it would have to be a government run utility. So water, sewer, that type of thing. But make sure that it is a government agency that's running it.
Yeah, and please don't call us to ask us that question. I'm going to tell you to go to the internet, look them up, go to their website, see if they're funded by, if they're, first of all, public companies, see if they sell stocks, see if they have a board of directors, see what information you can find because we're probably not going to do that for you all the time. Usually it's based on the title. Also city of, Watertown Utility Department, Sewer Department, Water Department, Trash Disposal, that type of thing. So use the internet, do your due diligence. All right, Terry, I can't find info on the Nix website for the training classes. Give us an email directly and we'll make sure we forward that to you. What do other FFLs usually do if their full middle name isn't listed on their ID?
Supplemental document.
He says there are other acceptable forms of ID, but sometimes people don't either have their names on the documents with them or the alternate document still only has the middle initial. Additionally, how can this info get out to the buying public so they are prepared when they arrive to pick up a firearm? Here in my state, most driver's licenses have their middle initial, but some have their full middle name.
Yeah. You just got to get the word out. We do have a buyer's guide that kind of you guys can use that just tells the purchaser, the non-licensee, what to expect when purchasing a firearm. I mean, that's one thing you can do, but getting the word out to the general public, the key is this: when they walk in, you got to tell them, look, I need something that proves that's your middle name. We've had too many situations where we've had middle name issues or we've had sequence issues, first, second, third, or junior or seniors, and we've seen problems with this. So you just have to be careful. I mean, we've actually seen it happen where a father has been in trouble and he'll play like he's a junior. And use his kid's name and his kid's information in order to purchase a gun. So, and the exact opposite, a junior has done it for a senior. So, you got to be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have I think it's on our website too, under forms and tools. It's called the Before You Begin guide.
Yep.
It kind of tells the customer everything they, JC said it's a buyer's guide before you begin. Tells them everything they need to do before they start the form and before you have to get into that big long conversation with them. You should also put a sign on your door or at your counter that alerts everybody to that issue if it's a state issue. And a lot of states are moving to that middle initial on driver's licenses, and they never ask the ATF about middle names, so they don't care. All right, Richard says, oh yeah, back to letting the ATF know about your time away. It also affects how the ATF will evaluate your 5 business days for the multiple handgun and long gun reports.
That is correct.
Yeah. So I had one fellow last week change his hours to set, he really wanted to limit his hours to only Saturday or Friday afternoons from 2 to 4 p.m. because of his other job. Although he's doing business throughout the week, you can do business on other days. But for inspection and open business hours for them to come knock on the door and to track your multiple transfers, you have to go by what's posted for your licensed hours. So my FFL was upset that he did this all, and now he has to track gun sales for 5 Fridays and make sure a customer doesn't buy 2 handguns over 5 Fridays instead of just 5 days. Next, what if are out of town for a week, but the shop is still open and you do not have an RP in town?
If you are open for operations for business, you are open for inspection. The ATF will contact you as the responsible person and let you know that they're there to conduct an inspection, and they'll ask you to designate somebody for the ATF to talk to while they're there.
They do usually want you there for the closing conference
Yes.
and to sign off on a list of violations, if any, and the acknowledgments and requirements going forward. But it's not, the other question is, it's not here, but do I need to have an RP on premises at all times, Jason?
That is true. You don't have to you don't have to have an RP at all times on site.
Yeah, we get that question a lot, guys. So the answer is no, as long as someone is available, if the ATF shows up and wants to talk to somebody via phone or otherwise, yeah. But again, that RP shouldn't be a vacant owner, shows up once a month type of thing. The ATF is going to dig into that if, in fact, there's a lot of violations under the license during an inspection. They want somebody who's engaged in the business to be the RP. So,
Yeah.
but you can have 10 RPs and only 1 visits every day, and the other 10 are just on, the partners or business owners, or they want to be an RP even though they don't show up. That's fine as long as 1 is engaged in the business. Am I correct to say it that way?
Yes.
Okay. Can a trust be named as the secondary party? Don't know what that means. Paul, Greg, can a trust be named as a secondary party? I don't know what
To
that
the
means.
business? To
Greg,
what?
if you can, Greg, if you're still on, hit your space bar and clarify that question. Greg, okay, Greg, if you're still on with us, come back to us anytime with hit your space bar. Can a trust be named as a secondary party? Don't know. All right.
I don't know what that's in reference to, so.
Nicole says, if you have an FFL but do not have customers coming into your location, do you still have to alert the ATF of hour changes or going on vacation? I think we beat this one to death. The answer is yes, because they can still show up for an inspection.
Yeah.
And by the way, they can call you for traces.
Yep.
So we didn't talk about the trace issue yet with all of that, but if you're going out of town for an extended period of time and do not have access to your A&D records or business records, you're still subject to traces. So we have information on how to contact the tracing center along with your IOI, and just let them know you're going to be away for a period of time. All right. Does a responsible person have to be employed at the FFL and 1 person and have no employees? I think we just answered that.
Yeah.
So Dan, and I know who you are. You are the RP, so you have to be. If you're one man show, you have to be the RP, and you're there. But if you have somebody filling in, say you run out to lunch and have, somebody else mind the fort. I mean, you're allowed to do that, or you can have somebody who's qualified as a W-2 employee.
Yeah, they have to be a W-2 employee. You can't just have Joe Schmo off the street minding the shop while you go grab a bite to eat. That's not how it works.
Well, I might be right or wrong in this one, but as long as if they're just minding the shop, but they're not transacting.
Yeah, they're just sitting in there. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're just
As long as
watching,
they know to say, hey, I can't do anything. I'm just here watching the shop while he ran out and grabbed a bite to eat.
right? Yeah, separate question, I guess. But to JC's point, and we get the gun show question all the time. Can I have my son run 4473 as a background check? He's not an employee. The answer is no.
Yeah.
Only W-2, part-time, and full-time employees can sign off on 4473s and run back and use the FBI NICS system.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And we had somebody a couple weeks ago call with that question, and they had about 80 or so transfers done by someone who was not a W-2 employee. I won't
Yep.
continue with that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Brian says, so I had the reinstating rights letter. I ran the background check and it passed as well as doing a suppressive form 4.
Okay.
So Brian, that's fine, but when they ask you the question, if they can can they fill out the form and how should they answer 21 conviction question? I forget which one, 21J, I think. You should not answer that question. You can't coach a counsel or give legal advice on how they should answer that question based on their letter presented to you. I guess that's the point we were trying to make. So if somebody just comes in and answers no to the question and passes everything without involving you in that discussion, you're fine, as your experience dictates here. And yeah, you just can't step in as the attorney, and you shouldn't, if you call us, we're going to give you the same answer. We get these calls every week. We're not the attorneys either, especially not for individuals. So Tim says, Big Kahuna Guns, AR-15, 50 BMGs, upper is marked and needs to be transferred. Okay, yeah. So this was this is a different one that we've heard about this one too. So Big Kahuna Guns are just shipping their upper receivers, 50 cal BMG upper receivers, and they're marked with a serial number. So they should be received in, even though they're a bolt action and they wouldn't necessarily appear as the receiver. So some of these guns are a little tricky, guys. Take a picture, send it to us, text it to us. Let us help you make an answer, get an answer. Then Wayne says, but an AR upper without a serial number is not required. Yeah, JC explained that. Don't confuse the bolt action versus the AR platform upper receivers. All right, guys, we're on a roll here, still going. All right. Hopefully, if you guys are don't put anything in the chat box. Hope you guys are learning stuff. All right. We don't mess with regardless. Okay. Is there still a ruling halt on FRTs back to being legal?
Force reset triggers. Go ahead, JB.
Yeah. Is there a ruling? As far as I know, they're legal.
They are legal now. There's the injunction has been been lifted, so they can't they haven't appealed anything or none of that. So
Okay. When a background check is delayed, when a background check is delayed, is it still okay to transfer the firearm to the customer on or after the next provided Brady date?
yeah,
If it's open, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's up to you if you want to or not. Now, obviously, some states have different rules, etc., about transfers, but yeah, once the Brady Day is passed, as long as your state doesn't restrict it.
so that's the indicator in the NICS platform. It stays delayed, but if you notice on the Brady expiration date, it'll automatically changes to open. Nobody goes in there to change it to open. The computer does it the software does it on its own. And again, open means it's up to you, as JC said, it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to transfer it to this individual. And if you do, fine. If it gets denied later, that's fine too. That's what 27DE is all about. After the gun is transferred, you get a different determinant. Don't worry about that. If you transfer the gun on an open and it gets denied later, just make sure you got your status report printed on these. And this, again, another great reason why you want to print the NTN status report on delayed, anything transferred as an open. That's a critical one because if that gets changed to a delay, or a deny rather, ATF might be talking to you about that a year from now when they look at it during an inspection. This is going to be in your system as a denial. All right, can you submit the FFL documents if not 100% sure of the address, as long as the address and magazine location are finalized and constructed by the inspection date? What does that mean? Can you submit the FFL documents? Nicole, I'm not sure what this exactly is for, as long as the address and magazine location are finalized and constructed by the inspection date. I think it has something to do with explosives. Nicole, if you can hit your space bar, can you expand on this question? Nicole, are you still out there? All right.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
So it is dealing with explosives, and like we're in the beginning stages of putting together a company that is going to have some explosives, but we need the FFL as well as the FEL. And we are in the process of looking at some different land options to buy currently, but we wanted to get the process started with the paperwork, and we weren't sure if we had to have an address when we submit it, or if we can just give a general address
Yep.
and then change it.
No, the address that's going to be on the license has to be you have to have a lease in hand. They're not just going to issue you a license. Hold on. So I'm going to send you my email address.
Okay.
Let's schedule some time to talk. Let me find Nicole. You're just Nicole. All right. All right. Let's see.
Real easy. Jay Clark.
Yeah, Jay Clark at FFLconsultants.com.
Jay Clark.
I handle all the explosives licensing. So I
Okay.
handle all
There's
the
another question lower down about the FEL as well. So
Okay. Yeah, let's just schedule some time to discuss, and we'll get you through the hoops.
okay.
All
Thank
right?
you.
Yep.
Including a magazine and all that,
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeff says, for purposes of 5300.11, would the assembly of an FCU into a pistol be considered manufacturing and distributed into commerce?
Putting the FCU into the what isn't a frame and making it a frame, the FCU is already a frame. So unless you're fully completing the firearm into a handgun, then in other words, putting the slide barrel, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're just putting the FCU in the grip, for lack of a better term, then no, that wouldn't be. You're not changing the configuration. You're not changing the type of firearm. It would be once you make it into a full-fledged pistol.
Well, yeah, but let me further that question. So, JC, I think you're saying if I take an and yep, can't answer that one. I take an FCU and I make it into a pistol. Yeah, I put it in a grip. Then I also have to add the slide, right, on top of the FCU. So and I forget who, Jeff, if you're saying you're taking the FCU and making it into a shooting handgun, then you are changing the configuration from a
Right.
frame to a handgun, to a pistol.
Right. But if they're just pinning the FCU into the grip, then no.
Yeah.
If they're not adding a slide, if they're not adding any of that, then no, it's still a frame.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole thing is when you have to change the type of that
Right.
firearm. Again, guys, this gets squirrely. So yeah. And sometimes we have to, we call each other and do other research to help you get the right answer so you don't get in trouble. So again, don't guess, reach out. Next, he says, would the disassembly of a rifle into a receiver and receiver then sold be considered manufacturing and distributed into commerce?
No.
So parting out rifle. If I'm parting out a rifle, can I sell the receiver?
Hang on a second,
I
Jim.
thought that was manufacturing. Yeah, I'm canceling those calls. All right, I'm going to move to the next one. We've had two people come in after denials with UPIN responses instead of an AMD ID. Has there been a change that allows us to use the UPIN number instead of the AMD ID?
No, nothing changes. Now, obviously, they have a UPIN now. You'll start a new 4473 and a new background check with the UPIN.
Yeah.
That would be the difference.
That was gonna be-
And you probably should go back to the denied 4473 and just make a note in box 32 that says customer return with UPIN new 4473 and put a date or whatever reference to that new 4473.
Yeah,
Because when you do the background check, you'll enter the UPIN.
right. And that'll get them through it.
Mhm.
Back to the
But does that count as an overturn on the denial still?
No. No, it is not an overturn. Only an AMD ID would be an overturn on the denial.
Okay, so we can start a new form with the UPen.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. But like JC said, cross-reference the two forms. One's going in a denial folder. Put a note on that.
Yep.
And then, you know, the transferred firearms over in the other file cabinet, put a note on that one. Put a copy of that letter with both, maybe. You know, some things we tell you not, to keep them naked and strip your 4473s, but there's always a one-off, and this would be a good one-off situation.
Yep.
If it was an AMD overturn, you'd have to attach that letter anyway. So.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. JC, I don't know about this one. Do we want to get back to him on this one? With the disassembly of a rifle into receiver, and then can I part it out and sell the rifle if I'm just a FFL?
So he should really reach out so I can better understand what he's doing. There's rules about reporting versus not reporting depending on remanufacturing and things like that. So that's the big question. Where did you originally receive the firearm from, etc.? So there are some nuances to it.
Yeah. Again, JC's your manufacturing question guy, so call him anytime.
But if you do look at the back of the AFMR, and oh, by the way, for all you Type 7s out there, your manufacturers, and Type 10s, your AFMR is due. That's the Annual Firearms Manufacturing Report, 5300.11. But if you look at I think it's the second or third page, the definitions, you do not have to file for these things outline that tells you all the different things you don't have to report. So, and remember, it's statistical. It has nothing to do with excise tax and all that kind of stuff. This is just statistical.
Yep. And I can't believe we forgot to put AFMR on here. Yeah.
I didn't even think about it either, JB. I forgot all about it.
So anybody
I've been dealing with them for 3 weeks now. So
anybody with AFMR questions, manufacturers, just call us. That's fine. They're pretty self-explanatory to fill out. Greg asks, what other kind of proof? Oh, I'm sorry. Back to the AFMR. It's due what? April 15th, April 20th.
Yeah, April 15th.
April 15th. All right. What Greg says, what other kinds of proof of address can be used for 26B? We went through a lot of those, but Greg just sent me an email. jbarker@fflconsultants.com will send you that guide. Is there a difference in Oregon fix and the NICS background checks?
Yes, or NICS is NICS. NICS is the FBI. Oregon is a point of contact state, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So you're a point of contact state. So Oregon has made the decision that they're going to run the background checks.
So fix gives you a control number. You put that in box 27B.
Yep.
And after you go through that process in Oregon, whether you know it or not, they actually push your customer into and through FBI NICS. After they check all the state level things they do, criminal records, etc., mental health, cannabis, whatever they're checking locally, scofflaw, parking tickets, misdemeanors. So that's why a lot of states do this. They check all the state level violations. If you pass that part A of the test, then they push you into FBI NICS. It comes back to the state and they manage it. And you never see FBI NICS information, but you know that it is going through the FBI NICS database at some point. And you have to pass both to qualify for the firearm. Wayne says, any news on whether the Colorado Department of Revenue is able to look at our 4473s without a court order?
That is still sitting at headquarters for a decision of the ATF. I wrote up an opinion piece on that I forwarded on to get an answer. I'm fingers crossed I provided a good enough argument to say they can't, but that remains to be seen. We're waiting on an answer from ATF headquarters.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're even going down this path. It's driving me a little bit crazy, but whatever.
Yeah. James,
as soon as I know, you'll know.
There you go. James says, gun returned to a Colorado resident after repair by out of state. Oh, yeah. So any out of state resident can stop in your FFL for gunsmithing or repair anywhere in the country. Well, almost anywhere. Sorry, excludes California. But an FFL is not restricted from repairing a gun for an out of state resident.
Yeah.
And in most states, the same thing for pawnbrokers. You can pawn a handgun from anybody in any state, as long as you're returning it to the same person from whom you received it. So hopefully that answers that question. Langford, Bloomberg is dumping a lot of money into Colorado too. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Gerald says gun broker calculates all the applicable taxes. Now includes them. So anyway, if you're using any of these third-party transfer agencies, please contact them directly on this new tax. If a customer car in Florida comes in to buy, sell, pawn a firearm with us in Alabama, is that okay even though Florida is on a restricted state, or is the restricted state for transfers? So Florida is based, the reason it's on our list is because of the 3-day or 5-day hold that you're subject to, because the state requires that for those residents of Florida that don't have a concealed carry permit or haven't gone through a hunter safety course. So there are special items to look for. Again, we have those listed and explained on a restricted states guide. So the answer is yes. If you're doing in Alabama and you have a Florida resident come in, other than a gunsmith or pawn return, you do have to enact the 3-day or 5-day hold depending on the county they live in. So that's your answer. Yes. Is there a good post available describing what makes an SBR we can hang in our store?
Mm.
So,
Other than the rule of what a SBR is, no, I don't know of any posters or any signage out there that has been previously created.
but if you want to create if you're a type 7,
Yeah,
display
just get the definition of SBR and create your own.
display an SBR, yeah. What does a response, or go to the, if you want to go to the ATF website, look up a ruling for a marking, and even they have a whole lot of, if you go back out to their arm brace ruling, there's a ton of SBR pictures out there you can just drop down. Does a responsible person have to be employed at the FFL? I'm a one-man, we got that already. Dan says, this is a question, if more so, if I passed away and have no RP. So Dan, we kind of went through that before. You need to have a second RP listed on your license, even if they don't work in the business. We have a lot of those. We have a lot of spouses or wives or brothers or cousins or somebody, nephews, listed as an RP on a one-man show license, so that person can at least jump in, call us, let them know what our phone number is. We'll help them manage. If something was to, say you got hit on your motorcycle driving home last night, and you're in a coma for 2 months, you don't want your business to come to a screeching halt. You can
JB, have them reach out to us and we can discuss the options there.
Yeah, but there's a lot of you out there. We can always hold you in and get you up and running. If a business doesn't intend to build a Type 1 magazine from scratch, can a Type 2, this is Nicole again. Nicole, reach out to JC on your explosive questions. If no RP, Dan, again, RP question, just give me a call directly. Rhonda says, if we have to close early, close for weather, expecting reasons, do we still have to call the ATF to let them know?
No, you don't have to.
Not if it's natural causes there,
No.
et cetera. We just say extended periods of time.
There are certain situations like we had it down in Louisiana where the business was destroyed by a tornado, and we had to move the 4473s and the firearms off site, relocate them to secure them, and we just notified the ATF, hey, heads up, this is what the deal is. We can't leave this stuff here. And they were very appreciative of that.
Yeah, JC, you saw Larry already commented that he downloaded the ATF and the ATF 4473, and it says.
I just looked it up. I asked Larry to send me a copy because I don't know if he's talking about the one online or if he's talking about the E4473 application from ATF.
Yeah, Larry, can you hit your space bar? Are you there? Hit your space bar. Let us know where you saw that. Larry says the 4473 has already been updated. Okay. Chuck says, I have a newly registered company. I'm ready to file for a new FFL for this company. And what is the best way to dissolve the old FFL with the old company? And what's the best way to handle the firearm transfer? This is only a corporation change, not a location change. So it's a ownership change. Control and yes. So Chuck, JC is our licensing expert. He'll walk you through rather than spend 20 minutes here. It's real easy. You're gonna have to surrender your old records, get a new license, start new.
I think I send him a message.
Yeah,
I'm gonna reach out to me.
So anybody with transfer of ownership, get in touch with us. Okay. Had a customer ordered an SBR stock and also got a pistol brace. Same gun, just a brace versus stock. He was confused too. You
Well,
know
it's
what?
either if it's an SBR, it would have to come to you on a Form 3 or a Form 4. So, um,
I got to
if
tell you guys, I had a couple PSA firearms SBRs show up last week, and they were supposed to come with arm braces, and they came with expandable stocks,
yeah, yeah,
AR pistols. So we had a solution for it, but PSA had a picking error. They had a problem in the warehouse, and they had an employee who didn't know what they were doing, and so you got to be watching for that stuff and call us what to do, how to manage it, and we worked through it. But yeah, when you get these AR pistols, and make sure they have arm braces and not stocks attached. Maybe that's what maybe Paul's talking about then. If the 4473 only says male or female, when we get a customer that has X for sex on the driver's license, will they now not qualify to purchase until they fix their sex with the DMV? Good question.
well, here's the deal. This is all going to be part of the big FAQ that we're going to have to get from ATF on this, because my initial answer is going to be whatever they say they are, they have to put on the form. If you're one of the, I forget how many states now, I usually keep up to speed on the who has non-binary, but if you're in those states where non-binary is still allowed, I guess we'll see what happens. It is a question that we did put forward to ATF when we talked about the new form coming down.
Yeah, and the standing rule has been whatever's on a license has to match the 4473.
Exactly. Yep. So
So yeah,
that's what we expect. So
a lot of people will be asking that question next week.
yeah. And keep in mind too that the driver's license has to comply with federal law as well because of transportation and the need for real ID. So remains to be seen what states are going to do.
Paul, regarding SBR questions, just give JC a call directly to save time. Dave says, I'm in California. We require proof of citizenship and naturalization. Sometimes a birth certificate or passport will have two last names, but the driver's licenses will have one last name. Is this acceptable? Blah, blah, blah. Hey, California, call JC. There's his number on the screen. This is always a problem with California and their 4473 versus the state forms.
Yep.
Hopefully JC can answer that for you later.
Their full legal name needs to be entered in the system.
Yep. And that may or may not match the 4473, but JC's
Right.
California manufacturing and explosives and everything else I don't do. So, all right. Michael says, I recently moved to my home FFL to another county, thus had to get a new FFL. Am I required to send my old FFL records into the ATF?
Yeah, if you shut down your operations at the old FFL, they should have probably addressed that when they did your application inspection. When you got your new FFL, I'm not sure why you needed to get a new FFL, but you could have amended your license to the new address. But hey, it gives you an opportunity to get rid of your records. So, but they should have coordinated all that with you.
Michael, send me John Barker, or J Barker rather, BOCKER at FFLconsultants.com, or reply to your invite, and I'll send you the instructions for handling all that. They probably want you to take care of all the traces on those old records. They never mentioned to you that you can send them in.
Yeah.
Well, listen, guys, there we are. Thank you for sticking with us, JC. We got wow, a big group, guys. We will have as much information sent to you throughout the month when we hear it, whether it be 4473 or Pam Bondi's office updates. Keep track. We'll have our next webinar about a month from now. We don't have a date yet, but thank you so much for being part of us, and call us. And if you need inspections or join the NSSF, give us a ring. We'll probably come into a city near you very soon. Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day. Have a great week.
Have a
Go
great
sell
week.
some guns.
There you go.
You guys are the best. Thank you.
All right,
No
guys.
worries. Thanks for the feedback.
Yep. Appreciate you being here.